Hey, guess what's happening on this week's episode of the Beating Diabetes podcast with your friend and host, Oscar Camejo.
Have you ever started a workout program only to one day realize that, hey, what happened? I'm no longer following this program. Maybe you gave up. Maybe you quit. Just stuff happened. Personal things got in the way. Could be a new work schedule. Maybe you relocated. What about the holidays? Holidays came around and just threw everything off. Listen, I've been there. Or maybe unrealistic goals and expectations that you set for yourself. I get it. I totally been there. We've all put ourselves in a place where, hey, we set out to do something and something happens along the way. Well, you know what? Today, we're going to talk about creating a healthy lifestyle beyond losing weight. Listen, folks, we want to stay focused. We want to live fit and feel alive long term. Isn't that the goal? So listen, stay tuned. We're going to be going over some great things today. Today's topic is going to be awesome. You definitely don't want to miss the rest of this episode. Listen, what value are you going to get out of today's episode? Listen, you're going to learn how to set realistic expectations. You're going to receive practical recommendations for developing lifelong good habits. And guess what? You're going to develop self-motivation when you're ready to give up and quit. So stick around to listen to the rest of today's episode. You don't want to miss it. Welcome to today's episode of the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle podcast with me, your host, Oscar Camejo. Listen, when I started this podcast, it was one goal in mind: to help diabetics make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. Listen, if I can do it, I know you can too. So if you're listening for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. Back in August 2020, I was overweight. I had first been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I was 268 pounds, sluggish, feeling terrible. And now to find out that I had type 2 diabetes, it was tough, folks. So listen, guess what? This week marks 1 year since I finally made a decision to turn my life around. Listen, when I went through that whole ordeal, going to the hospital and being first diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, coming out of the hospital, I really didn't put things in place to really transform my thinking and transform my life. It took a while. It took almost a year later for me to really get my stuff together, even after going to the hospital. But something clicked. Listen, I was going through some personal issues. Now, fast forward to 2021. So I was going through some personal issues, some relationship issues. So the first part of 2021 for me was very challenging. So not only was I dealing with the type 2 diabetes scare and having to transform my life, but also being just stressed out with so much that was going on in my personal life. So from January to April, it was just very, very tough. So I know, like you all, you may be going through some tough times. You may have some personal things going on. And it's like, man, and you're dealing with type 2 diabetes. Listen, I get it. Stress is not good when you're ill and you're trying to turn your life around. So in April, the first week of April, I'll never forget it, of 2021, I was like, you know what? I need to get away. I need to detox my emotions. I need to detox my body, my mindset, my emotions, just everything. So I literally just one day just decided I am going down to Hilton Head, South Carolina. I had heard about it and I was like, I'm getting away for a couple of days. I don't know when I'm coming back. You know, I packed up everything impromptu and just drove. And it was one of the best things that I had done for myself. So, you know, fast forward to that time of being there in Hilton Head. I was able to just relax on the beach. I was able to explore the city, and it was just a great time. So I spent a couple of days down in Hilton Head, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to work on having a better version and creating a better version of myself for me. Not living for anybody else, but just living for myself and not being selfish. But it was time for me to really now focus on my mental health, my physical health, and my overall well being. And I'm glad I did that. So, if you all have gone through a stressful time, or maybe you're going through a stressful situation, sometimes it's important for you to get away, de-stress, detoxify, and get your stuff together as you build this lifestyle, this healthy lifestyle. So when I came back to Atlanta, I was on it, man. I was like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. This is me making changes. So I went ahead and purchased a mountain bike. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start mountain biking. I like being out in the woods. I'm gonna get my exercise in that way. And I was doing some walking and whatnot. But I was out of shape. So going up and down hills and in the woods, it was a lot. Trust me, it was a lot. And guess what? The brakes stopped working on the bike. I'm like, man, I'm trying to get my life together. And here it is, the brakes just stopped working. And then on top of that, one of the pedals kept coming off in the middle of me riding one day. And then I tried to fix it manually. And man, it was just, put it like this, it was a bunch of distractions trying to keep me from achieving my goals. So now my eating didn't change drastically. It didn't change much because still, I was thinking just about the physical exercise. I wasn't really focused on the eating, but that changed later on. And so fast forward to June of 2021, I purchased an Apple Watch. I was like, you know what? I need to track my progress. I knew that much, that I need to start tracking my progress. I joined the gym. This is probably the third gym I had joined in my lifetime, if you will. But I was like, man, something's different now. And so I signed up, I want to say like on a Friday, maybe. And then that next day, I was in the gym. As a matter of fact, folks, June 6th of 2021 was my first day officially in the gym. Where I signed up for the gym. And then I think on the 7th is when I went into the gym. And I was like, okay, I'm here. I got a t-shirt, an old t-shirt and some shorts and some old shoes that I had. So I was ready, to make that switch. But I was like, okay, what do I do now? So getting in, I'm like, okay, I think I should do upper body or maybe I should do cardio. And that first day, it was just, it was crazy. So I knew that I needed to come up with a plan or at least follow a plan that made sense. Because listen, I started buying gym clothes, I want to say immediately. I was like, man, the stuff that I had is not working. I need to feel comfortable and feel great while I'm working out. I like to sweat. And I knew I wanted to burn all these calories and burn, fat and all that stuff. So I was like, hey, I need to get my stuff together, right? So I was like, okay, a workout program. I knew I didn't want to follow a YouTube channel because I need something to track what I'm doing so I can look back and see what my progress was, right? So I found the Nike Training Club app and found out that it was a free app. They don't upgrade you or make you try to upgrade for an additional cost or whatnot. It's 100% free. I was like, oh, okay. So I was going through the app and I was like, okay, I see a couple of trainers here. They had different formats and different workout programs. And then I saw this one guy. His name is Joe Holder. So Joe Holder, if you're listening now, big shout out to Joe Holder. I mean, his program was something that I looked at. I was like, you know what? He talks about conditioning, strength, training, athleticism. And I'm like, man, that resonated with me. I saw how he looked physically, and I was like, you know what? He's not this muscle bound bodybuilder type, because that's not what I wanted. I wanted something that I can follow. I can visually see what this guy looked like and what he was offering through this program. And I was like, you know what? I can do this. So his program is called, it's a whiteboard format. It's like when you go to the gym and on the board, they have, okay, do this many reps and do X amount of rounds. And here's a time to do it. And it lays it all out. Well, it's just like that in the app. So, I mean, from fitness to healthy eating, that was another thing that was that stood out to me that I like very much. You know, Joe's program, he not only is giving you, here's a workout program where you can start and stop. You can learn it. There's videos there, but he's also giving you practical tips. There's videos where he's talking about health and nutrition. You know, he does plant-based nutrition. He's big on that as well. I'm not 100% plant-based. I'm not against it either, but it was something that resonated with me. So I was like, you know what? I can follow this. It was so easy and simple. Listen, I don't believe that fitness and healthy living and building a healthy lifestyle should be complicated. It should not be complicated at all. So the Nike Training Club app is something that I recommend to people. It's 100% free, at least as of now, it's 100% free. And I've been using it for well over a year. I can go back to, and I actually did this yesterday. I went back and looked at my first workout program that I did. It was called a Total Conditioning One, Routine One by Joe Holder. And it was 36 minutes. It felt brutal. It was tough. Now, I felt like giving up that day. I'm telling you, because the conditioning was, it was out of this world, but it was because I was out of shape. There was nothing wrong with the program. It was me. I had to work the program. So listen, that was, I want to say, okay, fast forward. So June 8th was the day that I did my first workout, my first official workout. Now, remember, I had already joined the gym, but I was going in without a plan, without any structure or anything of that nature. So I needed structure. I needed something that I can follow that was simple. And number two, I needed something that can track my progress. And folks, fast forward to a year later, I have all the workouts that I've done. I mean, there's a 4-week program, a 6-week, and an 8-week. I've done each of those probably at least 4 times. And I love it. It is so awesome. So I definitely recommend that. So here I am a year later. I told you I'm 187 pounds now. I feel great. I'm leaner. I've lost quite a bit of body fat. And listen, I'm sleeping better. I'm energetic. And on top of that, I was able to reverse type 2 diabetes by making some sound health decisions, some sound choices that really made a difference in my life. And I'm all about helping people now to do the same thing, to develop a lifestyle that they can be proud of, that they can feel happy about, so that they too can live a focused, fit lifestyle and feel alive. Because listen, folks, isn't that what we want? To be focused, we want to be fit, and we want to feel alive and extend our lives. Who doesn't want to do that? You know what I mean? So no matter where you are in your journey, no matter where you are in your progress, I know there's going to be the temptation to give up, cave in, and quit. But I don't want you to give up, cave in, and quit. Quitting is not an option. You hear what I'm saying? Quitting is not an option. Don't put it on the table. It's important for you to find out what works for you. Listen, I get it. Maybe you've been following a workout program on YouTube and you may like it, but it's just been hard for you to keep up. You're not able to see your results. You know, you're looking at your body. You may have set some goals and say, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds by this specific date. And you feel like, man, you know what? I've not been able to accomplish that. Listen, I get it. You have to grind it out in your mind, folks. You have to exercise first here. I had to do it, and I encourage you to do it as well. You have to exercise your self-confidence every day. work on your self-confidence. Sometimes you may feel like when you go to the gym, you're not making any progress. Maybe you had a weekend where you went out with a bunch of friends and family and you ate a bunch of stuff that was not good. Maybe you've been alone for a while and you feel depressed and you feel sad and your self-confidence is out the door, is out the window. And you're like, man, Oscar, I hear you. I want to do this, but I'm just going through a tough time. Listen, I've been there. I know exactly what you're feeling. I know exactly what it's like to struggle and to have low self-esteem. You know what? I had an episode of this podcast, I think it's episode 2, where I talk about my whole mindset at the time of being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and how I saw myself. I didn't have the self-confidence, where I needed it to be. But I had to keep grinding. I had to keep working it out. So self-confidence is very important. So before we go on, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to get into some really good stuff and some practical information to help you get to the place where you need to be, where living healthy is not just a one-time goal, but it's a lifestyle. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Folks, if you want to connect with me, you can always email me at hello@beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com. Also on Instagram at beatingdiabetieslifestyle. Listen, if you want to send me a video with a question or a comment, you can also use the HiHo app. That's HiHo. This is a great new way to literally connect with me and share a question by recording a video. I think that's a great way for us to connect as well. Now, let's get back to this week's episode. All right, welcome back to the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast. Hey, guess what, folks? When you talk about making a lifestyle transformation, it's not going to be easy. Trust me, it's hard. But I've heard it said that anything that is worth pursuing won't be easy. So let me say that again. Anything that's worth pursuing is not going to be easy. So you might as well pursue it. So let me tell you a story about me and my friend Gus. Gus is like one of my very, very close friends. We used to work together at this organization. And man, we both decided, hey, we were going to start going to the gym. And at the gym at this particular organization that we worked at, they had what's called the Body Sculpting Center. And I mean, we were gung-ho. We were like, man, we're going to start working out, and he's my gym buddy. I'm his gym buddy. And we're like, man, we're going to go head on and really knock this thing out. So we would go to the gym probably like 4 times a week. And we're hitting heavy weights, working on upper body, working on legs, doing core and stuff like that. So I remember during that time, I know in my mindset, I was trying to bulk up because I wanted to be big, right? So that was my quote unquote goal or my quote unquote plan. And so one day I think I had gone to the store and I saw this magazine with Wolverine, Hugh Jackman. And this is when his first movie of the Wolverine series came out. And so I remember seeing, I think it was a Men's Health journal or something like that. And he was on the cover and I was like, man, he's ripped. I want to look like that. So he had it was a whole article, like a 4 or 5 page article. And you had the actual workout plan in there, do X amount of reps of this and do this and do that and this amount of rounds. And it was all laid out. It was perfect. Me, I'm a process guy. I like to see beginning to the end. Oh, this is going to help me to look like Wolverine? Shoot, of course, man. Wolverine is my favorite X-Men character anyway. So that appealed to me. He was like he was wild. He was strong and fit and all that. So naturally, I gravitated towards that. So I remember bringing in that magazine to the gym. And I want to say Gus would do some of it as well, but he had his own routine as well. But I remember just going in and literally after each set, I'm picking up the magazine and I'm looking doing the required routine, then going back, taking a break, looking at the magazine, and going up. And you know what? We did that for probably 3 months solid, going to the gym every day for the most part. And you started seeing results. Man, I was getting bigger, but mind you, I'm not even thinking about the healthy eating at this point. I'm just thinking about being physically fit. Right? Getting in shape, getting toned. I had no idea what all that meant. I just knew I wanted to look like the Wolverine, right? So now guess what happened though? Even though me and Gus were working out in the gym for all this time, for months, guess what happened? The holidays came around and he was about to go on vacation, I think, with his family. And I was going on holiday break as well with my family. And it was like, okay, hey, man, when we get back, we're going to hit the gym. Fast forward to years later, Gus and I never made it back to the gym. We no longer work for that organization, years later. But even while we were there, we never went back to the gym. We joke about it now to this day. And it's hilarious. And so why am I even sharing that? This whole thing about getting in shape, it makes me think about a sculptor. A sculptor creates a sculpture, right? And so that sculptor has this thing in mind, right? Now, remember I told you when we were in the gym, we were in the body sculpting center. So a sculptor gets a huge stone. That stone is heavy. That stone is out of shape. It has no form, no final form. It's just this huge stone. It weighs tons. And he brings it to wherever his shop is or wherever he's going to work on this. And like any master sculptor, he looks at it. And he already has in mind what he's going to create. Before it takes shape, before he picks up tools, before he starts working on it, he is envisioning the end result. So he may be there for hours, days, weeks, sketching out, what he wants this creation to look like. So guess what? While he's in that process of really just exercising his mind and visualizing, and using the power of visualization, he has a vision. He's thinking about this thing. He may be writing down notes. He gathers his tools, the chisel, the hammer, and whatever else he needs to sculpt this creation. It's the same thing with us, right? We want to get our lives in shape. We want to get our bodies in shape. But I want us to think about weight loss differently. Some of us, we say, okay, I want to have a physique that looks like XYZ. That means I need to lose 20 pounds. And we focus on the weight goal. And we focus on, hey, I want to have 6-pack abs, or I want to have my arms that looks like this, or my chest that looks like that. But guess what? Like the sculptor, there has to be not only that goal of, okay, I want this creation to look like this. I want this body to look like this. But what's the end result? What is it that I want to look at? And what emotions do I want to have once I finish my creation? Like, what is life like after the creation, the sculpture has been sculpted? Then what? Does it stay in the shop and does it stay hidden? Or is it put on display? What is it? Same thing with our lives. Once we meet that goal of losing 50 pounds, then what? You see what I'm saying? Once you decide, okay, my goal is to fit into this particular dress or this suit before my high school reunion. Okay, once you get there, then what? That thing happens, and then what? Like when Gus and I were going to the gym, I knew, hey, I just wanted to look like the Wolverine, but there was no plan in place of how I'm going to let that be sustainable and let that continue and be the thing that I see of myself and I'm physically am of myself moving forward. You understand what I'm saying? Because guess what? When the holidays hit for me and Gus, that was it. It was a wrap. There was no plan in place. It was just, hey, yeah, we'll see when we get back. And it was hard. It was tough. And I think there were days where he was able to maybe go to the gym by himself or working out near his home. Or for me, it was sporadic. It was just not this plan in place, at least for me, you know? And so here's the thing that I want you to take away from this. I have a couple of key steps that I want you to keep in mind. Number one, know your why. Number two, set realistic expectations. Number three, set yourself up for success with small victories. Number four, set boundaries around your decision to live healthy. And number five, evaluate your progress and be willing to adjust along the way. Now, I'm going to go over these in depth. Now, knowing your why is your motivation. What is your motive for doing what you're doing? Why is it that you want to build this lifestyle? You know, this goes beyond just having a weight goal. It's this lifestyle. But now why? Why are you doing what you're doing? For example, I want to transform my life. Why? For me, my biggest motivation was when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I was sick. I was overweight. I was unhealthy. And I wanted not to be sick. I wanted to reverse type 2 diabetes, and I wanted to feel better about myself. I wanted to make changes for me and no one else. Listen, Stephen Covey, the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he said this. He says, it's important for us to begin with the end in mind. So thinking about, remember your why, number one, your why. Why are you doing this? What is the end result? Keep the end in mind. Stephen Covey went on to tell us, he said, by beginning with the end in mind, you can train yourself to create a clear vision for yourself and the life you want to live. Again, by beginning with the end in mind, you can train yourself to create a clear vision for yourself and the life that you want. He believed that your most important work is always ahead of you and never behind you. So I want you to come up with your list of whys. For example, I want to blank because blank. I want to lose weight because I want to live healthier. I want to develop an exercise routine that I can stick to because I want to look and feel better about myself. List your whys. If you want to come off medications, list that could be a list. If you want to be able to sleep better, that's a part of your why list. So I believe you get the point. And this is something that I often say to myself when I'm grinding in the gym and when I'm sometimes feeling like, man, this is tough. You know, I always say this. I tell myself this. I am focused. I am dedicated. I'm motivated. Keep moving. See, I'm focused, I'm dedicated, I'm motivated, I keep moving. All right. Number two, setting realistic expectations. Focus on goals that are achievable for where you are and where you want to be. See, sometimes we create these goals that are so lofty, they're so high, and they're not achievable, and they're just really counterproductive. You're like, okay, I want to lose 50 pounds in 2 months. And so you go in there, you grind, and losing 50 pounds in 2 months is going to be hard, especially if you have not put in place and been developing a habit of being able to lose 5 pounds. If you're struggling to lose 5 pounds, right, but you set a goal of saying, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds in 2 months, that's an unrealistic expectation for where you are. Unless you're going to starve yourself, not eat, and that's not a healthy thing to do either. So number two, again, set realistic expectations. Number three, set yourself up for small victories. You see, small wins require taking small steps. Don't try to leap so far ahead. Don't try to make these big changes. Make small changes, and those small changes will be like when you throw a pebble in the ocean or in a pool or in a river. It creates a ripple effect. So keep making those small deposits in changing your life. You want to have small victories and let those small victories keep building up. For example, let's say if you're going to the gym and you're working out and it's been tough for you to walk a whole mile on the treadmill, guess what? Do 10 minutes on the treadmill and do a quarter of a mile. Then you work your way up. Keep doing that until you consistently can do a quarter of a mile or 10 minutes on the treadmill, and then build up from there from 10 minutes to 20 minutes. Then that equates to a half a mile. So once you get proficient at winning in doing half a mile, then build yourself up to 3/4 of a mile and do that consistently until that becomes easier for you to do. And before you know it, you'll be up to a mile on the treadmill. I remember walking outside. It was tough for me. I was overweight. It was hard to walk down the street without being gassed. So hear what I'm saying. Achieve small victories and you're going to have big successes later on. Just keep building up those. Okay, number 4, set boundaries around your decision to live healthy. Now listen, this is big. I'm going to repeat that. Set boundaries around your decision to live healthy. Be willing to say no. Yeah, not just no to the chocolate or the butter pecan ice cream that you just have to have and your cheat days that you just have to have. Be willing to say no to just anything that's going to throw you off course. That's easier said than done. But remember, going back to the last point, set yourself up for small victories and those small wins. So setting boundaries around your decision involves the ability to say no to 1,000 things and saying yes to the right things. Listen, distractions are going to come by the thousands. Trust me. You already know I'm preaching to the choir. The more you set out to live this lifestyle, not only of reversing type 2 diabetes, but just living fit and healthy. Listen, distractions are going to come thousands in your mind. There's going to be friends that come and say, hey, yeah, you can skip a day of working out. And you may say like, oh, yeah, let's go hang out. Or you may, be distracted by watching television when you should be exercising, when you should be eating right. Hey, guess what? Family cookouts, summertime, the holidays come around, and guess what? You get distracted. So you have to develop the ability to say no to 1,000 things. Trust me, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Because remember, we want to stay focused. We want to live healthy. We want to be fit, and we want to be alive. So in order to be focused, we have to say no to 1,000 things. You don't have to go and jump at everything that's a temptation. You don't have to. And it's more than just the willpower. It's literally building up the right habits to be able to say no to 1,000 things. Trust me, you can apply this to almost anything. It could be work. It could be dealing with certain relationships and just certain things that may distract you from living the life that you need to live. And we're talking about living fit, living healthy, and living happy with yourself. So remember, set boundaries around your decision to live healthy. The last and final one, number 5, evaluate your progress and be willing to adjust along the way. Let me say that again. Evaluate your progress and be willing to adjust along the way. Listen, when I got serious and when I decided to really put some things in place to have small victories, to set my boundaries, to evaluate how I was living and setting myself up with small victories and so forth, I had to make adjustments along the way. But those adjustments came by me educating myself more about the human body. What is my body supposed to be? I know I have this goal of looking a certain way, but I needed to understand my anatomy. What is my body supposed to be? What is natural weight? What does that even mean? I had never heard of that. Getting down to your natural body weight. What did that mean? So I started looking at, okay, what is fat? Oh, so there's a difference between weight loss and fat loss. So my goal is not just to lose weight, but to lose this unnecessary fat that I was carrying around in my midsection, that visceral fat and that subcutaneous fat. I had to educate myself. I had to educate my mind and just start learning. I would look up anatomy books. I would research the muscles and how developing muscles actually assists with burning fat. I had to look at, okay, how did I develop all this fat around my organs? It's a visceral fat. Where did this come from? It wasn't, oh, because you were just eating. It's more than that. But what is it that I was eating? So I'm like, oh, okay, if I'm eating a lot of fried foods that have a lot of saturated fats, or I'm cooking with this type of oil, oh, so that's what's causing that. So guess what? I had to eliminate those things and replace them with good things that were contributing to my health. Oh, if I'm eating a whole bunch of French fries, I'm thinking, okay, well, it's a potato, it's a vegetable, not realizing that, hey, that starchy food is spiking my blood sugar. Oh, and top of that, I had to learn about blood sugar glucose. I had to realize, okay, what's spiking my blood sugar? I can go on and on and on and on. And so it's important for you to keep reevaluating where you are, educate yourself. As you learn, apply, learn, apply, learn, apply. And before you know it, you'll be making progress. And then you can look back and say, oh yeah, I don't drink soda anymore because I learned that soda contains this. Instead, I drink water now, XYZ. So you're able to make adjustments along the way. So here are a couple of recommendations as we go ahead and get ready to wrap up. There's a book that I've been reading. I've been really talking about this book. Is by James Clear. He's the author of Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits is all about making small changes to develop habits. And I really, really recommend this book because, listen, it's very, very practical. They have some information in there that really helps you to develop a lifestyle where you're making good habit choices. And I want to leave this with you real quick. There's a thing that I call remove and replace. It's one thing to eliminate something out of your life, but another thing to replace it with something good or something better. And that's the key. Remove or eliminate and replace. That's where the adjustments come in. So I want you to keep that in mind. All right, folks. So as we go ahead and wrap up, I want to leave you with a focus point. Each week I share a focus point, which is basically a saying, a quote, a power statement that I want to be branded on your mind as you continue the rest of your week and as you continue this journey. So for this week's focus point, I want to share with you a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. from his speech, Where Do We Go From Here? It goes like this. The true measure of a man is not how he performs in times of comfort and convenience, but rather how he performs in times of conflict and controversy. Listen, I live by that my whole life. I first learned about that when I was in college, I want to say. And I live by that till this day. While you're on this journey, challenges will come, distractions will come, and it's going to be so easy to just conveniently give up and cave in because this circumstance came up or this came up. But listen, it's not how you perform when things are going right that really determines your true measure. That grit and determination, it's in you. I believe it's in you. If I can turn my life around, you can too. So listen, stay focused, keep moving, never go back, leap forward, trust God. You got this. I believe in you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Beating Diabetes podcast with Oscar Camejo. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As a reminder, this podcast is intended for motivational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional care by a physician or other healthcare professional or qualified fitness instructor. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. If you're looking for help on your journey, seek a qualified medical practitioner. It's important that you utilize someone who is a trained, licensed healthcare professional who can help you on your journey toward good health.